Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves. Tonight, it's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
The number, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. We always bring in show prep to talk if people don't call in, but every once in a while somebody will call in before the show even starts, and that's what happened with Stephen calling in from Fort Lauderdale. Stephen, what's on your mind?
Hi, so I just wanted to talk about going to church. I've been going to church for about 2 years now, and
Just started?
I was talking to the priest the other day, and he told me I was doing God's work.
Okay.
And when he was telling me I was doing God's work, basically, I was on his porch because I was fixing it for him because he had a leak from his porch. So I got up on his porch, I took my gun out, and I started shooting niggers.
And we'll drop that. Somehow I knew that was coming.
Yeah, I kind of heard a dumb story.
Yeah, well, I had my finger over that drop button. You know, one of the issues with
he was
having
so excited he called in before the show started to do that.
The funny thing is that oftentimes, so this is Free Talk Live is an interface between old and new technology.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our listeners are listening to us on nationally syndicated radio, but a handful of them are out there listening on platforms like Twitch, DLive, and YouTube. Stephen did claim to be calling from YouTube, and what Stephen probably doesn't know is what a dump button is. It's like holding a single-edged one of those razor blades that you screw in, safety razor, you screw in the razor blades, or one of those inserts for a 45 record or something to a kid. A pair of manual clippers. They'll have no idea what they are. Stephen doesn't know what a dump button is. But I'm going to explain it real quick in case Stephen's still listening or anybody else there wonders. We have a piece of technology, and that piece of technology allows us to build up 7 seconds of delay. And in that 7 seconds, I can push that button anytime and drop off 3.5 seconds, and I can push it twice and drop 7 seconds. And thus, the things that you say, no matter how foul and inconsequential, I've heard them all, mind you, I can drop them, make them disappear into the ether, and then we're back instantaneously. So, that's the wonders of radio, and you can call in and talk about what you want, and I'll dump your butt too. So,
going out there, and it's gone.
Yep. First it's there, then it's not there. My show prep is from The Independent. Several U.S. states are considering legislation to decriminalize prostitution. And as a matter of fact,
it's about time.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've seen that several, that Mexico at the very least is considering it also.
Good. Mexico, interestingly enough, seems to have been gaining freedom recently as we've been losing freedom, in that the Mexican Supreme Court determined they had a basic human right to marijuana. I mean, not to have marijuana provided to them, but to be left alone if they manage to obtain their own. And more people are now moving from the U.S. to Mexico than are moving from Mexico to the United States, despite
You mean
Trump's
legally?
Yes.
I can't believe that. People are moving to Mexico from where?
I don't know, but I think a lot of them are joining Berwick.
I cannot believe that more people from the U.S. are going to Mexico than from Mexico to the U.S.
What is Berwick?
Jeff Berwick is the host of Anarchast, and he's one of the personalities I enjoy, and he also puts on the Anarchapulco event every year. I don't know, is it a convention?
Yeah, it's a convention in February.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I've never been there.
And it's in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's in Acapulco, and the proposition is that you will see more freedom by moving to Mexico than by staying in the United States, and I think that can work for some people. I am, as a matter of fact, giving a speech at the Porcupine Freedom Festival coming up not this weekend but next, where I will be discussing exactly what is freedom, and once you determine what freedom means to you, how do you go about getting more of it? Because it seems like there's a lot of people out there that are talking about, hey, freedom's one thing, and you can move to one place to get it. And I don't believe that we live in that country. We don't live in that world where you can go one place and get more freedom than you can in other places. It's just not possible today, to my mind. And some people, the freedom.
You don't think it's freer here than California?
Freer in New Hampshire than California? I wouldn't say that. But
really,
I wouldn't say that it's freer in. No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that it's freer in New Hampshire. You wouldn't
say that. You wouldn't say.
Right. So it is freer in New Hampshire from a sort of aggregate standpoint. So I'm free to gay marry in New Hampshire, which. I guess you are in California too. There's probably some things I can do in New Hampshire that I would choose not to do. Right? I can ride without a helmet. Mm-hmm. I can not wear a seatbelt. Neither of which I would choose to do. So those freedoms are inconsequential to me. They are indicative of a government.
Normally, you can open carry a firearm, which is obviously you're
I'm
a
convicted felon.
So
New Hampshire's worse.
So am I.
Can you do that in California?
Probably not. I think you can open carry a long gun, or at least the Black Panthers did at one point. They may have.
Actually, the funny piece of history there is the Black Panthers did open carry. They picked up shotguns and started defending their neighborhoods from the police and from other common criminals. And that was when Ronald Reagan decided that gun control was a great idea and signed a ban on open carry in California because he was the governor there.
I see.
So he was kind of Trumpish in his opposition to gun control.
There you go. And that's often how it goes. That's how these freedoms go away. But I would say that if you want to smoke marijuana, or consume cannabinoids, that California is probably freer than New Hampshire. And what if it's more important to you?
See, to me, what's important to me, it's not level, it's really direction, in that what I expect is that the other 49 states will get worse and worse and worse, and that New Hampshire actually seems to be fighting a holding action where, we'll get Democrats in and they'll pass some bad stuff, and then sometimes the Republicans come in and actually repeal it.
Yep. So New Hampshire has gotten, as I understand the numbers, and I need to look at this a little harder, but as I understand it, slightly less free in the amount of time we've been here for the Free State Project. And that's just a small amount. Now, that's... that
compared
is what that is.
A lot of states that have lost a lot of freedom.
It's accurate in your little scenario here. However, what I would ask you is this: is if the other states get less free and New Hampshire remains as free as it is, then presumably, like a vacuum works, there will be more prosperity, longevity, happiness, and every other positive thing going on in New Hampshire, and not so much in the surrounding states. Is that correct?
In general, that's what one would expect.
Okay, great. That's what I would expect too. And if that happens, where will the people who want prosperity, happiness, longevity, and every other good thing move?
Well, that depends. Are they planning on getting it at their own expense or at somebody else's expense? Because New Hampshire has never historically had a particularly generous welfare state. So if you want to partake of other people's prosperity by force, Vermont is the better place to go.
So middle-class people that want to partake of this stuff, where will they move?
I would expect them to be very comfortable in New Hampshire, and I would expect people who want to be working but aren't working in a bad economy to do very well here, because I would expect to have a good economy here.
And all the positive things that were made were largely done by legislators, liberty-oriented legislators that got into the New Hampshire legislature because, well, mostly people didn't know who they were. But I would expect those people who moved here, those middle-class people that we were talking about, to continue to vote the way they voted wherever they were, and to continue to get the results that they got wherever they were, and thus begin to chip away at any positive aspect that New Hampshire has. I'm talking about over the course of decades. I'm not talking over the course of, a year or two. I just don't see any fundamental change in the state as in New Hampshire, and I don't believe you can retrofit the state.
I think that with things like the Free State Project, there's a good chance we can.
The number's 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE, as in Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
You can call in and talk about whatever you want. We've got a story here from The Independent that's talking about apparently more states are considering legalizing prostitution, which is kind of interesting. Not something I would have expected to see, but, well, there you go. It's happening.
See, I really think there's going to be a sea change in opinion on victimless crime over the next decade, and I think that the legalization of marijuana and the failure of the sky to fall when that happens is going to be a catalyst to people rethinking a lot of things.
That is literally the first word in this article. Marijuana. I'm going to go on and read it here, but first I want to tell you about freedomsphoenix.com. This is where I found this story. Freedom's Phoenix is a news aggregation site. It's liberty-oriented, and if you want the newest, freshest stories and perspective on current events from those who value liberty, freedomsphoenix.com has it. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, the rise of the police state. Freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. It's freedomsphoenix.com. From The Independent. Marijuana has gone mainstream. Casino gambling is everywhere, and sports wagering is spreading. Could prostitution be next? Lawmakers across the country are beginning to reconsider how to handle prostitution, as calls for decriminalization are slowly gaining momentum. Decriminalization bills have been introduced in Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. A similar bill is expected to be introduced in the City Council in Washington, D.C. in June. And lawmakers in Rhode Island had held hearings in April on a proposal to study the impact of decriminalizing prostitution. New York may be next. So that's a lot of states I've just rattled off.
Yeah.
And when you start saying Washington, D.C., New York City, Boston, Portsmouth, you're talking about some population there.
Portsmouth, New Hampshire?
Oh, I meant Portland, excuse me.
Okay.
Portsmouth is not exactly the largest place around. So
yeah.
Some Democratic lawmakers are about to propose a comprehensive decriminalization bill that would eliminate penalties for both women and men engaged in prostitution, as well as the Johns whom they serve. This is about the oldest profession and understanding that we haven't been able to deter or end it in millennia, said Senator Jessica Ramos, one of the plan's backers. So Jessica's right. This isn't going away just because you make it illegal. And it just gives people records, just makes their lives more dangerous. Mm-hmm. Rich, what are some of the reasons that somebody might choose to advocate for prostitution, even if they're not some kind of John?
Well, I'll tell you what. First, I'll tell you from the position of somebody who has been a John in his life, and that's me.
Oh, my.
And I don't usually talk about my personal life on the radio, but my wife died of cervical cancer in 2002. And I'm a very honest person, and, you know, of course you knew. But after that happened, I'm a very honest person. I was not the kind of person who could just take a girl out to dinner, blow some smoke up her butt, and take her home and put other things in there. But so it's like, for me, it was either going to be celibacy or it was going to be a professional arrangement. And I found a professional arrangement very helpful because I don't open up a lot emotionally. And the one time that I do tend to open up is after sex. So that's a very important release for me, other than the simple physiological release. So for me, it was really a healing experience to be able to do that. In terms of people who don't use the services of prostitutes or don't want to be a prostitute, and I've also been that, in that when I was a teenager, I was on the selling end of the sex business for a while. Not regularly.
You've got quite a story, Rich.
Oh yeah. I've done well. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen.
So let me get Angie's take on this real quick.
Yeah, please.
I think that it's a great idea. I think that if a man and a woman, or two men, two women, whatever, want to have sex with each other, that they should be able to do it and not feel bad or be shamed. And if they want to pay each other, then that's even better.
Right. It's legal to work for money. It's legal to have sex. But apparently it's not legal to have sex for money.
Exactly.
And I can't understand why that is. And what we can see the results are is that the sex trade, and that's what it is, tends to go underground. It tends to drive up cost. It tends to make it, just like bathtub gin back in the Prohibition times, it tends to make it more dangerous.
Yep.
Yes, very much.
There's a demand in the marketplace for testing for prostitutes, but it's hard to get enforcement of that in the current market. If you see places like Amsterdam and Germany, these places are prostitution's legal. Not exactly cesspools of crime, these places. Yeah. The United States could aspire to the criminal levels, the crime levels of Amsterdam and Germany, and they'd be in pretty good shape. So, to say it's a breeding ground for more crime, I don't really make any sense.
Oh, well, the thing is, any black market is a breeding ground for crime, okay? If you walk into a legal business, if I walked into a legal, say, massage parlor, and they were legally advertising that they provided sexual services as well, then I would not expect to see people acting like criminals. And if they were acting like criminals, I would think something's wrong here. What's up with this? Are these girls not wanting to be here? Why are these people acting like criminals any more than the people at the grocery store who sell me my alcohol act like criminals?
Or the people at the pot stores.
But the thing is, once you outlaw something, then everybody's acting like a criminal. Everybody's sketchy. Nobody can ask questions. Nobody can answer questions. And you don't find out what's really going on. And you keep your mouth shut and you do what you're told. And hopefully you get what you were looking for. So that's what creates the environment for crime and exploitation.
I would say this. I don't think that there's going to be a lot more recreational drug use when you legalize drugs, especially the harder ones. I'm not going to go out and try heroin simply because it's legal. None for me, thanks.
Right.
Maybe, if marijuana became legal in New Hampshire, all right, maybe you could convince me to take a little puff or something. But, I don't think it's going to substantially change drug use. I do think it would substantially change society if prostitution were legalized. And this is an activity that everybody uses.
Yep.
I think it would substantially reduce drug use, especially use of the hard drugs, to legalize it. I think you would see
prostitution?
No, if you were to legalize drug use, I think you'd see a lot less use of drugs.
I'll have you defend that here in just one moment. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE, as in Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
I want to tell you about my favorite cryptocurrency wallet, Edge Wallet, at edge.app. Edge is the wallet I use more than any other, and that was true long before Edge Wallet became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. Edge Wallet allows you to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and more. It's available for both Android and iOS, and you can download it via the Play or App Store or via Edge Wallet's website, edge.app. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet.
Free Talk Live. You are free to call in and talk about whatever you want to talk about. We've been talking about vices here on Free Talk Live, specifically the illegality of vices. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
I want to tell you about one of my vices that's not so vicey, My Magic Mud. My Magic Mud is a black tooth powder that's made of charcoalized coconut shells and husks or whatever, bentonite clay. And it's clinically proven to whiten teeth. And I can verify that if you use it 4 days in a row, you will see your teeth whiten visibly after every use, and then use it every 3 or 4 days, maybe up to a week every week, and it will keep your teeth, in my opinion, cleaner than just sort of using regular toothpaste. I can feel the difference when I use it. I know the difference between My Magic, using it and not using it. I've been using it for many years now, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. I'll go so far as to say, if you listen to nothing else I say on the air here on Free Talk Live, listen to my advice here when it comes to My Magic Mud and get yourself some. You can get My Magic Mud at most health food stores or Sprouts or CVS or Natural Grocers and Walmart. It's natural beauty aisle. I guess Walmart has a natural beauty aisle in some Walmarts and doesn't have it in others, so your mileage may vary on that particular one, but their CVS is probably very close to you. You can get 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. So, yes, you can get it while you're out, but you could save 20% by going to mymagicmud.com and using coupon code FTL20. I love it. I will never be without it because this product is just so good. It makes my life so much better. I'm really concerned with oral health, and you should be too. I mean, if you like to kiss people, oral health's a good thing. mymagicmud.com, FTL20. So, Rich, just before we went out there in the last segment, you had made the claim that you believed legalizing drugs, especially hard drugs, would cause a decrease in their use in society.
Yeah, I believe that's true. And there's a number of a collection of reasons for that. One of them is the whole understanding of addiction, which we have in this society, is a falsehood that was brainwashed into us by decades of government propaganda telling you exactly what they needed you to believe about drugs so that they could expand their own. Well, I mean, if you think it's far-fetched that governments conspire to expand your own power,
their own power,
I would have to say, wake up, sir.
I would agree with you that governments do conspire to expand their own power. I tend to think of them as incompetent, but now and then they have golden moments. So tell me how this theory works.
So, let's see. They paid in terms of the brainwashing. Well, I mean, not only was there dare in the schools, they paid primetime shows to include anti-drug propaganda in their storylines, concealed and unacknowledged.
Okay,
they did exactly everything that the Russians would do if they were trying to outlaw our or trying to interfere in our elections. They
so how is that
in every kind of
So how does that affect my understanding of what an addict is, and how is it different from what your understanding is?
Okay, well, the test that they tell you about and that they used to justify the beginning of the war on drugs was a test where they took rats and they put them in cages and they gave them 2 bottles of water, and one bottle would have pure water and the other bottle would have either cocaine or heroin in the water, and invariably the rats would use the cocaine or heroin, then they would use it obsessively, and then they would die of an overdose. And that happened to like every single rat. So they said, oh my God, this stuff is deadly. Well, what they don't tell you about is a experiment they did about 2 years after that, where a guy said, that's not really a good test of rat behavior because that's not a normal situation for rats to be in. So he built a big cage that he called Rat Park. Okay, and he put a bunch of rat toys in it, and he put like 200 rats in there, the same number they had used for the original study. But they had other rats so that, they could have rat sex, they could, play rat games, they could play with the rat toys, eat the rat food, and they had a good old rat time.
It's like downtown.
Very few of these rats abused the drugs, and none of them OD'd. Okay, so the question is, what is the problem? And the theory that I come to from that is that the anti-drug is connection. Okay, the drug, and I'm talking about abusive use of drugs. I'm talking about using heroin. I'm talking about obsessive use of cocaine. These are things that you do when you want to escape reality. So the problem isn't the symptom of the drug you're taking to escape reality. The question is, what's wrong with your internal world that you can't live there? Okay, and when that question is answered, and when there's sufficient human contact, the addiction will fall away. And I've tested this somewhat.
Well, there have been tests, and I tend to agree with everything you say. So they've taken addicts, crack addicts in particular, and they tossed them into a clinical environment, and they gave them choices. Hey, first it was like, hey, do you want, a piece of crack, or do you want, some money? Mm-hmm. And the higher the money, the less they wanted the crack.
Yeah.
And in many cases, they either they would give them the immediate reward, or they would give them a reward afterwards, and things like this. And the more immediate and the larger the reward, the less likely they were to do whatever the behavior was. And what they concluded
because
from this,
subconsciously they had some serotonin going. They had coming, not the same level as they would have gotten from the crack, but they had some kind of success feeling, which is what crack gives you, coming.
And what they concluded from this is that basically hope is a more addictive drug than crack.
Exactly.
And people don't have hope.
So take that theory and then consider what they do to people when they catch them using drugs. And the most tragic thing is the guy who gets popped for selling weed and ends up going to prison and coming out a heroin addict. And that happens a lot because there's not a lot to do in prison. Prison is the first experiment. That's the 1972 experiment. It destroys your families. It destroys every connection that you have to reality. And I've been through this, and I didn't have many connections out here, but those that I had, I mostly lost through 1 year in jail. So that's one thing, is not putting people in prison as much would have a lot less drug use, would lead to less drug use.
Well, I could say I spent a little time in the Pokey myself, and they didn't have any of the harder drugs there that I noticed.
Really?
But, that doesn't, that's different places and different things. But I would say that they still rob you of the hope. So if you get a guy who gets a marijuana sales conviction, and he is, thrown in jail for a brief amount of time or whatever, but then can't get a loan to go to college or a grant to go to college like everybody else can. He says
Citibank will never again hire me to program a computer.
Right.
Some dark web market might, but other than that, I'm washing dishes.
Yeah, and that's kind of how these things go. Is that for some reason a drug conviction basically means to the world that you're no good, and I disagree.
Because that is exactly what was taught. That was beaten into their heads by the government propaganda campaign I mentioned earlier.
The number is 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. As in Free Talk Live, and you can use our Discord lines at discord.freetalklive.com. Check those out. You'll sound great. Discord.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
I want to tell you about American Financing. American Financing is a family-owned mortgage banker, and they've been helping people for 20 years now. They're A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau, and they've got more than 3,200 Google reviews. They never charge upfront fees like some lenders do. Charge up like $500, and they offer every kind of loan in the industry. What I didn't know is that they have these things called digital mortgages. I had no idea that you could do the whole mortgage process basically online. I'm not surprised, but I guess I just never considered it. I always, when I've done these things, I've had to talk to some, banker or another. But you can do the complete mortgage process on your schedule, anytime, anywhere. Apply online and get your pre-qualification letter instantly. You can start shopping tomorrow for your home. It's American Financing. You can find them at americanfinancing.net. I have to give their MNLS number. That's 182334. And you can go to www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Now, their telephone number, if you want to reach them that way, and, you can do it the old-fashioned way. They're happy to do that. It's 888-804-0303. 888-804-0303, AmericanFinancing.net. And what I like about AmericanFinancing.net, what I think sets them apart and really makes them a better choice, is that their mortgage bankers are not commissioned. So they're not selling you the product that that they want to sell you. They're selling the product that you need, much more likely to. AmericanFinancing.net, 888-804-0303, AmericanFinancing.net. We've got a couple of calls on, and let's take them. Let's go to Tom calling in from New Hampshire. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening. The 4th of July is coming up, and the issue is, with the garden hose, of course, it sits out there in the hot sun, and so you got to be careful and let it run for a little bit before you playfully spray each other with the water from the garden hose. But the 4th of July is also the day when a lot of people become classified as United States citizens. They get sworn in, and what that means is, first of all, I think that they should be invited to march in the 4th of July parade. My wife got sworn in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, a couple of years ago, and they don't have a 4th of July parade. But around the country, imagine all of these people seeing all of these new citizens. They got different attitudes about immigration, but then they see the best possible immigrants. They're obviously legal. They're very proud. They're well-dressed. And so the other thing...
I think that's a great idea, Tom. I think it's a fantastic idea. Is every town in America... Hold on, Tom. Let me finish my little spiel here. Every town in America, I think, should adopt what it is that you're saying, is get those people who have just been sworn in, have taken all the risks and done all the stuff, and become American citizens, and let them march in the parade. I think that's a wonderful idea. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, because I didn't know if you were about to cut me off. I just want to beg for
that could always
a few
happen.
More seconds, and that is that over in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where they swear them in here in New Hampshire, you see, that's a great place for political activists to go and get these people who are about to go and register to vote for the next day. Reach them, because a lot of them didn't know that there were any other parties besides the Democrat and the Republican. They didn't know that there was anybody besides the Democrat and the Republican running for president and stuff like that. And this is a perfect opportunity for outreach with libertarian ideas. And these people would be, it's a great place for other candidates to go out and greet the voters. Because, when I was there, like I say, U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen was there to go and, just make a speech about how wonderful it is to have citizenship when there's no such thing as citizenship. You can't put it on a scale. There's no point. There is no such thing as citizenship. It's not like some bureaucracy.
It's a legal classification.
It's a legal classification.
Yeah, I mean, if it was ordinary crimes, we'd say victims. Right. But, they like to say citizens.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Appreciate it. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. And, as far as the two parties go, I am unsurprised that people who are newly U.S. citizens don't even know that there's libertarians and Greens and other political parties out there.
Well, the mainstream media certainly isn't going to tell them.
No, they're certainly not. And I appreciate the libertarians taking their time out to give me somebody to vote for who's less distasteful than the Republicans and the Democrats. I often wonder if there's, at this point, the difficulties in getting your candidate in from as a third party are so high, and the difficulties of getting people to know about them are so high, as if it will ever change. I mean, there's just so much momentum and paperwork behind the other two parties. I I think it's almost hopeless.
Nobody has a solution to that.
What's that?
And that's the Nobody Everywhere campaign. And, you know, as you're obviously aware, I'm going to be running for mayor of Keene, governor of New Hampshire, and vice president of the United States. But first, I'm going to legally change my name to Nobody.
Okay.
And I'm going to...
They got you arrested at one point in this.
Well, they would have arrested me if I'd showed up to do anything else either.
That's true.
Just put, you know, it put me within the clutches of the state. And I kind of had an idea that was going to happen because, you know, they had made appearances other places looking for me. So it's not like I didn't know I was hot.
Surprise!
I thought they were going to get me coming
party
out of court, but nope, they got me going in.
So your plan is to?
But anyway, so the other thing I'm going to do is to encourage other people to change their name to Nobody and to get themselves on any ballot, anywhere, under any party, any way that they can. And when they go to the voting booth, to vote for all the people named Nobody. And that's a virtual political party that can cut across the rigged crap system that they've given us, because all of a sudden their control of the party doesn't mean anything, because in areas that are not swing, you're going to have a large party apparatus on the side that always wins, and you're going to have no party apparatus on the other side. That's how Keene, New Hampshire is. So here it would be very easy for a bunch of nobodies to just come in and take over the Republican Party, okay? But in other places, the Republicans always win, and it would be easy for a bunch of nobodies to come in and take over the Democratic Party. So
that much is true, is that there are places in the country where Democrats or Republicans are basically a minor party. We had a co-host here at one point, Darrell W. Perry, and he didn't like the term third party because it's not really accurate. Is the Libertarian Party a third party, or is the Green Party? Because they can't both be third. Are they tying for last here?
Yeah, well, the Libertarian Party is third by every standard that counts, which numbers, they've got me.
I think that the Green Party with Ralph Nader got more votes in 2000 than the Libertarians have ever gotten.
So there are 4 parties? Huh. There are just 4 parties?
There are more parties than that.
Many more.
I'm actually very curious, because I think one of the things that holds the Libertarian Party back is the name and the resulting you're not a real libertarian, no, you're not a real libertarian arguments, where, you know, we get a candidate like Gary Johnson who could have done much better if the base had just said, okay, he's not perfect, but we're going to get behind him because he's what we've got. So I'm actually tempted as Nobody to try to take over the Pirate Party.
There's a possibility. Angie, another thing about the political parties, you'd asked if there were only 4. There are basically 4 that are able to get on enough ballots to statistically win.
Okay.
So there are other parties and other candidates run, and they're basically what you call issue candidates, where they're like, you know, I want prohibition to come back. Okay. There is a prohibitionist party, and a variety of reasons. But the Greens, the Libertarians, the Republicans, and the Democrats are generally the only ones that have enough states with enough electoral votes to actually win an election. So
I've never heard of the Greens.
Yeah, they're basically, we call them watermelons. They're green on the outside and red on the inside. So
everybody's red on the inside.
And, well, yes, I'm talking about the
facts.
The commies is basically the idea. They're more, they're mad that the Democrats aren't socialist enough.
Okay.
And so their policies tend to focus on that. And then more environmental issues. Their opinion is that the Democrats are too sort of middle of the road, and that they, they're not looking out for the little guy. And I can see those arguments. The number is 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. That's in Free Talk Live.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed into the municipal fee-generating meat grinder. Or maybe you recall that feeling you get when you go to the mailbox and see one or more letters from the IRS. you get a sense of impending doom, don't you? So let me ask you, if you could learn how to use the law to beat the IRS, traffic tickets, almost any courtroom scenario, collectors, credit card debt, and even mortgage debt because of fraud perpetrated against you, would that be worth knowing about? Don't laugh. Investigate. Check out the life-changing benefits of the Lighthouse Law Club at their website, lighthouselaw.club. That's lighthouselaw.club. And while you're at it, visit the Lighthouse Law Club YouTube channel. You might be in for a pleasant surprise.
Free Talk Live.
That's right, it is Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves. It's Mark Edge with you.
I'm the nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
And you can call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. That's what we do here on Free Talk Live. We take phone calls, and we talk about stuff. I've got stories for you. We'll take Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, so did you know that we have 14 states now who only sell cigarettes to 21 years old or older?
I didn't know that. Is it successful?
Well, they just taxed it because I think last month, like 30 days ago.
What do you mean they
like
just tax it?
States.
What does that mean?
She said they just pass it.
Oh, just passed it.
I
see.
think.
Excuse me, because I didn't understand. So they just passed it. So we're to see whether or not this works. And does it criminalize people under the age of 21 possessing cigarettes or simply buying cigarettes? Because that's a lot easier to criminalize.
Does
buying.
it criminalize anyone, or is it a civil penalty? Because there is something between legal and criminal.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, the only thing they could enforce is when you buy it, because they're going to require an ID, a photo ID, at that time. So whether you possess it later on, what can they do?
Well, there are places, I can tell you, Keene, New Hampshire recently passed a law that said that no one under the age of 21 can possess tobacco, which means that if a police officer suspects somebody might be under the age of 21, I guess they'll have to produce ID to be able to prove that they are over the age of 21 or something. I'm not entirely sure. But
and in practice, what this is going to be is one of those gotcha laws where they almost never enforce it. But if you irritate them and then you pull out a cigarette, we're gonna tack on a thing for smoking too. We're gonna hit you for $100 because you're smoking.
But
that's what I expect.
What they're going to do is they're going to go after hardworking businesses. They're going to send people in that are 20 years old and look like they're 30. And if you sell them cigarettes without IDing them, they're going to fine the worker and fine the business. So what this is a hidden tax on businesses that sell cigarettes. Wouldn't you agree, Sarah?
Well, the thing is, I like this new law because there's going to be less smokers. I like this law because, they act like I'm only hurting myself, but they're always standing in doorways. They're always standing at the bus stop. There's more people smoking and bothering me.
Yeah, it irritates me when I have to smell cigarette smoke too, but when you're outside, it's just kind of one of those things. I mean, step a little farther away from them or whatever. I'm with you. I don't like to smell cigarette smoke either, but most of the time when smokers smoke, they're not smoking next to you. They're smoking in their own homes or whatever, or their cars, and yes, they are bothering themselves.
And I'll tell you what, if busybodies did not outlaw smoking indoors, then we wouldn't be standing on the street smoking, would we?
No,
we'd be smoking in bars that allowed smoking, and other people would be happily not smoking in bars that didn't allow smoking, and everybody would have a place to be, and nobody would be standing out on the street.
Yeah, but if you were allowed to smoke in certain places, then people like myself, or when I had my children, wouldn't go into those places, even if I could, because I wouldn't want to smoke your cigarette too.
Right, which is absolutely fine. And that's how free markets work. I mean, if you have 20% of your population smoking, then roughly 20% of the seating capacity of your local restaurants, one would expect, would be smoking. Now, so
Rich,
in a free society, that would generally not mean smoking in non-smoking sections. I think it would mean smoking in non-smoking restaurants.
I think that's the truth too. So, before smoking was outlawed in New Hampshire, Applebee's had a no smoking policy. You could not smoke, even though it was legal for them to have smoking in their restaurant. They chose not to, and it was a bar. They have a bar there that people congregate around, and so it's a bar that doesn't have smoke. However,
but more restaurants allowed smoking in part of their surface area because restaurants were limited to a 40% smoking area. 60% of the restaurant had to be non-smoking. So you couldn't just have one place and put all the smokers there. You had to spread the smokers across all the restaurants in town, and then nobody can get a decent meal without smelling smoke.
Sarah, thanks for the call. What? Don't worry. She's one of our most prolific
You get more
callers.
airtime than I do, baby. Don't
she
whine.
does. So now I think that I am so happy that I don't have to smell smoke when I go into businesses. I'm so happy about it that I've even stopped being happy about it because I don't even think about it anymore. I just live in a world where, you don't deal with smoke in businesses. However, I think that as a bar owner, somebody should be able to choose whether or not they want people to be able to smoke in their bar or not. That's their business, not mine. I may choose to go to a bar where they don't have smoking, and I may choose to just rough it because I like that bar enough anyway. And there are bars that I will put up with smoking in to go to that particular bar because that's what I want to do.
And I will sometimes go to a non-smoking establishment because that's what my friends want to do. Or I actually don't smoke anymore. I pretty much just vape. I'll smoke a cigarette or two a day now.
And the laws that they have gone, the way they've gone after people who use vaporizers as though they're smoking, that's the biggest public health hazard as far as tobacco use goes, are politicians. There's this technology that is very likely, highly likely, not as dangerous as the epidemic that is
I would
tobacco
say
smoke.
Certainly not as likely, because one thing that you find, and they're not sure why, but when you inhale smoke, you're inhaling a certain amount of radioactivity. Okay,
well, it's natural and it's in the sun, so it gets radioactivity. Sure,
from any combustion. So you don't get that when you're vaporizing something and inhaling it, as opposed to
now.
combusting
How long
it.
have vapes been around? Like, actually, people have been using them.
Vapes are just now coming into the place where they're usable. They've been trying for maybe 10, 15 years, but they came up with inefficient solutions. They tried to make them look like cigarettes, and that really limited them at first.
So the first, 10 years that cigarettes were around, what did they have to compare their data to? They didn't. They couldn't tell you that they were so bad. They were giving them to kids, and we had fake cigarettes, and they were on cereal boxes and everything like that. So how do we know in 10 years that we're not going to be like, oh, wow, vaping is really bad for you?
Well, we don't know. What we do know is that it's almost certainly not worse than smoking.
Well, we have the anecdotal evidence from smokers. So, Rich, you quit smoking when? Are you still smoking any cigarettes? Or
I'll smoke a cigarette or two a day.
Okay.
And other than that, I do nothing but vape.
And before that, you smoked?
Before that, I smoked probably a pack a day.
And how has your health changed at all, in your opinion?
I had a persistent hacking cough for literally years when I was smoking. And when I switched to vaping, it stopped. I still have a little bit of phlegm in the back of my throat. And I will, in fairness, say that little bit of phlegm went away after I spent 48 hours in jail. So,
and had no...
So I'm not going to say this is harmless.
I wouldn't say that either.
It's less harmful.
Right. Humans didn't come from a glycerin-based environment, so the inhalation of glycerin is probably suboptimal. The thing you should go to the top of a mountain and enjoy fresh air every day, all day.
Yeah. But the thing is, glycerin is also a chemical that's used in every lab in America. Every chemist in America is exposed to glycerin all the time. They use it to lubricate glass stoppers, all sorts of things. So the thing is, it's a well understood chemical that because it was used by scientists, if it were causing them problems, they would have noticed and done something about it.
Right. I mean, if I would say that from what I understand,
the pig on your porch,
it's preferable to not smoke, but it's also preferable not to inhale anything into your lungs. If you can do both, then do both. But if you can do one, do one. That's all I can say from what I can tell.
People have asked me, said, "Oh yeah, I want to get a vape. What kind should I get?" And I'd be like, "Well, what do you smoke?" And if they say I don't smoke, I'll be like, "You're an idiot. Don't get a vape.
Indeed.
You have no reason to do that."
Right. Here. Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live. You're free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves. It's Mark with you.
Is it the yawning nobody formerly known as Rich Paul?
Well, I'm sorry I'm keeping you up here, Rich.
And Angie.
Well, I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
That's true.
We appreciate you coming.
You are sitting in for...
I'm not complaining. I got up at about... Actually, I was up all night because I bought a car this morning. So
oh, my.
Nobody rides again.
Well, I appreciate you sitting in. Jay, our normal Wednesday night host, he's dealing with...
I wouldn't call him normal.
Okay. Regular?
Regular.
I hope he's regular.
Okay.
If you're going to be happy, you got to be regular.
That's the truth.
That's important.
5 prunes a day, it'll change your life, people. So he has...
5 prunes a day would kill me. Oh,
now,
my God.
You work your way into it. Start with 1 prune a day. Do that for, a few days till things normalize. They do 2 prunes a day, which is a doubling of prunes. And
you're just assuming that you're prescribing without hearing the symptoms. Ain't got none.
It's food. Well, you don't think you have them. When you have some prunes, you will suddenly realize, I had some symptoms. That's what I'm saying. Life,
okay.
Trust me, life is better.
Anything else, Angie? Give us any other subject.
I have another subject. We had briefly, in the last hour, started an article that apparently was read last night on Free Talk Live. Ian rushes into the studio and says, well, actually, I have the note right here. Covered this for 2 hours last night. And it was an article on several states legalizing prostitution and some of the reasons why they would do so. And I thought it was fascinating. But there's another article that I was intending to sort of follow up with that I'm going right to as a result. Mexico City to decriminalize sex work to combat human trafficking. This is one of the... This is one of the ones that really, one of the reasons that's so important about, prostitution is the human trafficking aspect of it.
Yes.
The people people want sex work, and thus, when you drive it underground, fewer people will participate in it, and so they have to get their sex workers from somewhere, and the easiest thing to do is to kidnap young girls and ply them into the trade. Now, that's not to say...
That's actually an incredibly hard thing to do.
I'm sure it's not easy, but it's done.
It does happen from time to time, but it is very much... The threat of this is very much overblown from the government.
I have no idea how many young ladies, what the percentage of them right in the business are there against their will. On the ones that are there trying to earn some money, I doubt very many of them are there just because they like to have multiple sex partners and be exposed to communicable diseases, right?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, if you happen to if you happen to be a sex addict, what better sublimation is there than to get paid for it?
Yeah, but how many women are truly sex addicts that are going to say, this is a job for me?
Fewer of them than that are human trafficked would be my guess.
Well... Okay, that's a false choice because there's a lot of space between human trafficking and in it just for the lust.
No, I think,
and look, the thing is, it doesn't. I would imagine that if that's the reason a girl is doing it, then she's going to do it enough, and then that's how much she's going to.
It would certainly add to the skill set. I think that's just the imagination of horny men, personally, but I've done lots of jobs and very few of them what I do for no money. And that's kind of how I view sex work is that they're therapists of sorts. And there are those that are conscribed into it, and I imagine that problem is bigger in Mexico City than it is in U.S.
Well,
cities.
I mean, I've had more sex for free than I've made sandwiches for free.
That's the truth. Coming from ActivistPost.com on Friday,
and I worked for Subway.
Friday. Well, that just drove up your paid sandwich number. On Fridays, lawmakers in Mexico City gave the green light to decriminalizing sex work in the capital city. That's Mexico City. Officials are hopeful the change will help curb a sex trafficking epidemic to which thousands of Mexican women and children have become victim. The UN estimated that there were like 250,000 sex workers in Mexico in 2016 alone. And that's when it's illegal. Lawmakers voted 38-0 in favor of the bill that would remove the one line from a civic culture law indicating that sex workers and their clients can be fined or arrested if neighbors file a complaint. 8 members of Congress abstained from the vote. While sex work is legal in Mexico, each of the country's 31 different states have different and occasionally unclear laws and policies. Unfortunately, the disconnect in regulation leaves a space for exploitation and trafficking. And, living in Florida for some time, those who haven't been to Florida, perhaps you haven't seen this stuff. But they have these things like massage parlors. They call massage parlors. Now, there are places you can go and get a massage, and you're just getting a massage, and nobody wants to be talked about. We'll talk about sex work. But there are other places where you can go, and you can really tell the difference between these places where you go, and if you got a real massage, you'd be surprised, and you'd feel a little cheated. There's also lingerie modeling used to be one, too.
Yeah. See, I was living in Florida when my wife died. And what I can tell you is that you don't necessarily get a bad massage where you get a happy ending. I think that's a myth. As a matter of fact, some of the best massages that I've gotten have come with happy endings because it's not, it's just kind of the done thing in actual Asia. So if they're doing that, in a lot of cases they've been doing that at home. That's just how they learned the trade, and because everybody does it there, it doesn't relieve you of the need to deliver a good massage.
Right. Well, the competition goes up at that point.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is that there exists in the United States this sort of netherworld of legality and illegality. I don't know. I've really only lived 2 places, New Hampshire and Florida. I have never seen anything that looked like one of these massage parlors or intimate shower salons or
but there
lingerie
are
modeling.
Masseuses that do that. You just have to find them.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I wouldn't doubt it. And there's the backpage.com. There's all kinds of ways to get a hold of
Backpage is gone, but there's onebackpage.com, ONEBACKPAGE. And they are now, I know a lot of the Manchester girls are using that. There's nobody in Keene using it as far as I can tell.
So, obviously these things exist. They're not out in the open as far as I can tell, because I'm not looking for them.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is that we have prostitution is quasi legal in the United States. You act like it's not, but it is. People act like it's not, but it is.
And before Backpage went away, I had 2 roommates when I was in Manchester who were prostitutes, and the reason was...
You have lived quite a life.
Well, the reason that I was doing that is because this is a form of outreach that I want to do is, I think prostitution is a positive good, for both buyer and seller it can be, and so I would like to have something called the Order of Inara in my church, which is temple prostitutes, basically. But I need to find out what hurts these girls and make those things not happen.
Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. Local.bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. Unless apparently it's prostitution, in which case they covered all those stories yesterday on Free Talk Live. Like every single one of them. Ian comes back in the studio and tells me, we did that story too. Obviously, we're going to have to change the way we do things around here. This is the first time it's ever happened that we kind of crossed up wires. But it's so funny that we ended up on two stories crossed up this way. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
855-450-3733. I guess I'm just going to leave all the comments about prostitution being legalized in Mexico City to yesterday and move on to something that's completely unrelated to prostitution and, leave it at that. From CNN. A Catholic high school tells girls to cover up at prom or get a modesty poncho. So, There you go. Yeah. Now, I want to tell you about local.bitcoin.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposits, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to show up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy, local.bitcoin.com. Get started trading Bitcoin Cash at local.bitcoin.com. I think they've got this blind escrow technology, which is awesome. Hey, it's great, and I think it's going to be it's a needed improvement over what has existed up to this point, and could be the thing that jumpstarts adoption all over. It's local.bitcoin.com. All right, from CNN, Kama Hassan reports Karma, it's spelled differently than I would have expected. Karma Hassan reports sparkly evening dresses, corsages, and modesty ponchos. That was a Catholic high school's solution for girls who didn't follow its prom dress code. It swiftly backtracked Tuesday after it came under a firestorm of criticism for what students called...
Oh, they've kicked the habit?
Yeah, a misogynistic policy. I'm not sure that I see misogyny here necessarily, but fine. We can have our opinions as to what the reasons are.
I think they hate all humans because, you got to hate both genders if you're going to hate sex.
But I will say that I was excited by the amount of cleavage that was shown at my proms that I went to. I thought that was great. The girls saw an opportunity and they took it. So good for them.
I mean, when I was a teenager, I could look at linoleum and get excited.
Indeed.
I mean, to quote Xander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Until now, the ponchos were on display at the entrance of Divine Child High School, a private school in Dearborn, Michigan. The ponchos came in both long and short styles and were meant to cover up a variety of necklines.
Ooh, naughty. She's wearing the short smock.
Well, she'd wear the short smock if she had a long dress, and the long smock if she had a short dress.
So it's a layered effect? Is that what they're going for?
If she's... It's funny. I suppose you could wear both if it was the problem was both, but if the problem was how short the hemline was, meaning she showed too much leg, and I'm not sure...
Isn't it really the her line that they're worried about?
I'm not sure what the Divine Child High School's policy is as to how much thigh is unacceptable. Maybe it's knee. I don't know. But they have a smock for that problem. And I suspect that there's...
For my date in a smock, I'm going to smock you.
There is an amount of neckline that is going to disturb just about any school principal. So, there you go.
That's why you don't invite them to the party.
Most prom dresses are sold that way. You can't go buy one that doesn't show something.
Oh, well...
It's Amish America prom dresses. I don't think there's anything wrong with showing something.
I think in places where people want to do that, I think that's probably... I mean, if you go to the Bible Belt, you can probably find,
Do they even go to the prom, though? I don't know.
There's probably
something dancing.
That's where they put the rulers in between to make sure there's enough space between you when you're dancing.
Probably. Look, I think that if I'm not the one to determine what is tasteful, and I'm certainly not the one to determine what is legal. So there you go.
And the funny thing is, we laugh, but we've got people sticking rulers between us to make sure no money is changing hands, don't we?
I don't entirely understand. Are we talking about the prostitution articles?
The ruler becomes a metaphor, but yes, we're talking about prostitution.
Students.
A metaphor is like a simile.
With both boys and girls acted with incredulity. The way they talked about it before is if you show up in a dress not in line with what they say, you'll have to put on this poncho, said this senior here. I'm not even trying at these names anymore. The senior intends to boycott the dance. This whole situation, the fact that it's arisen, is laughable. This, I guess, is a male. Modesty is his name. Anyway, the issues underlying the policy are anything but, he said. There's an idea that men have the right to impose their will, good or bad, modest or immodest, on women. I don't really get that.
I don't get that either. Old people think they have the right to impose their will on young people. There ain't no young men going to their prom and wishing they could see less skin.
I'm sure that there's an outfit that a young man could wear to this that would be unacceptable.
Well, no, what I'm saying is
I know.
It's not men who don't want to see skin. Old ladies are a lot more offended by young female skin than young men are.
I don't know who's responsible for it, but I suspect it is not a group of men sitting in the back of Divine Child Catholic school and saying, boy, we got to make sure that the young ladies don't show some skin. It just doesn't even sound right to me. But nonetheless, I also don't think that this policy necessarily would only be based on women. There's probably some young man that would put on something that would be offensive enough. They certainly tried when I went to school. There's always some joker that's doing something.
That was probably me.
Yeah. Students say some girls returned their dresses and went back to look for new ones. Others said they would leave the event if they were forced to wear a Modesty poncho. CNN has reached out to the other students and is waiting to hear back. So there was
I just want to rent a hall across the street and have a party there and be like, yeah, y'all can come over here and have a good time if you want to. You have a good time. You just graduated high school. That's big. That means you don't have to let them tell you what to do anymore.
And that's basically what they did when I was a kid is they'd rent out hotel rooms and they'd have parties in the hotel rooms after the prom. So party back at, X hotel. And
well, that irritates hotels, which is why the rave movement was born. So instead, you could do that in a warehouse with 500 of your closest friends.
Indeed, we did learn over time that the hotels would just call the police, and the police would come take care of the issue.
I never had a hotel party busted.
How is that?
Guile.
I mean, I would think. Are you not playing music?
I'm not playing. I'm actually for as much weird as I carry around, I'm actually really good at fitting in when I want to.
I'm still trying to figure out how that would have anything to do with having the cops called on you in a hotel party. Because I mean, either you have a party, and the cops are called on you not having a party.
Whatever it is that I'm going to do, I'm going to be at the sort of hotel where the sort of thing that I'm going to do isn't going to bother the other guests. And if you don't bother the other guests, you don't bother the management.
Yeah, well, that much is true. I would think that if you just invite them to the party, perhaps they would want to come.
Well, exactly. But you have to be at the kind of hotel where the people want to come to your kind of party.
I suspect you're right on that. So anyway, if you've got any thoughts on these Modesty ponchos being handed out by a Catholic or were being handed out by a Catholic school, I'd love to hear your thoughts. 855-450-3733. I'm going to read to you the little signage that's on the Modesty poncho here, just sort of threatening like a scarecrow for the young ladies. The number is 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
We're talking about this this policy that this Catholic school had, and I don't think they're probably the only one that had something similar, but they really trotted it out. It's what we're calling the Modesty poncho. I'll tell you about it here in just 1 second, but I'm addressing business owners right now and people who have, say, websites, or you're trying to reach people. And if you're trying to reach, these business, if you're a business owner, you're trying to reach these people and you have a product and service that you want to sell, are you tired of spending money on digital or print ads that may or may not be seen or heard by your best prospects? How'd you like to reach our listening audience, and how much better would it be if we could guarantee that your ad would get in front of the eyes and in the hands of your prospect? Free Talk Live has a new advertising platform that combines digital and print advertising in a way which can be used with radio advertising, and many more sales you'd be making if you could get your ad directly in the hands of targeted prospects. Reach the Liberty audience right now with this revolutionary new advertising and direct marketing program. This really is. I've looked at this program and I've never seen anything like it. This is going to revolutionize direct mail advertising. You can learn more about getting incredible response to your advertising with this program. It's as easy as 123. Simply visit 123.freetalklive.com. That's the numerals 123.freetalklive.com. This program is likely to be your most cost-effective and highest return on investment that you've ever received from any marketing program that you've ever done. There's limited space, so contact us now at 123.freetalklive.com. And I am excited about this. I cannot recommend it more highly. I can't say too much more. Check it out, 123.freetalklive.com. So I said I was going to read the sort of warning notices that were on these Modesty ponchos that were at this Catholic school in Dearborn, Michigan. So the first one is Modesty poncho for prom, available in short and long styles. Advertising it as though it's on a little model here. And, the next part is sort of a warning. If your dress does not meet our formal dance dress requirements, no problem. We've got you covered. Literally, this is our Modesty poncho. They use the term, which you'll be given at the door. And this thing is hideous. It is, sort of primary colors plus green, which, like school kids things always are red, blue, green, and yellow. So it's in these primary colors. I'm calling green primary for the sake of this. And it's...
Green light is primary, but not green pigment.
Well, maybe. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, monitors are red, green, blue.
Oh, yeah?
As opposed to the opposite, because monitors project light, whereas pigments absorb light. So if you combine two pigments, the product is darker. But if you combine two lights, the product is lighter.
Huh. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was true.
Well, that's the thing, is you learn red, yellow, blue, and it makes sense until you start working with computers that project light, and then you have to learn that everything is backwards.
What does yellow and blue light make? Probably some lighter shade of green.
Yellow and... I don't even... Or wait, yellow and blue would be green, yeah.
But you said green was a primary color in light.
Oh, well, in light, in light, there isn't a yellow primary color.
Okay.
Yellow is made out of...
I'll look it up on the internet and find out more about it. I think that's an interesting idea. Going back here, so they're handing out these hideous smocks, basically, that are more or less just cut out of fabric to drape over young women, presumably, who have plunging necklines or short hemlines. And I guess the students and the media had such an uproar about this that the school has backtracked a little. The reversal. The administration didn't return CNN's calls and emails Tuesday, but in a letter it sent out to parents, the school said it never intended to make students uncomfortable with the ponchos. It kind of sounded like they did.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, it sounded a little smug. Hey, come get your poncho. Neckline too low, hemline too high. We got a poncho for you, short and long. Right? That's a little mocking, I'd say.
Yeah.
So anyway, they didn't intend to, so they say. The ponchos, it said, were meant to remind all the students and parents of our formal prom dress policy. To be clear, the poncho will not be passed out at prom, the letter said. For girls who violate the policy, the school said it still plans to have wraps and shawls on hand. So maybe the Modesty poncho isn't there for the scarlet letter, but there will be some old woman shawl for you to toss over your shoulders.
Cover up.
Yeah, to
Wow.
And I guess that way
this is why I started a church.
I guess that way you can the ladies can show off their necklines in privacy. Just kind of, hey, can I see the neckline? All right. Don't say there won't be a dark corner where somebody can look down the dress there. These things happen.
One would hope.
One would hope. I can't.
It's not the prom I'd want to be at. I'd probably be going to the prom in the next town over.
You'd be at my old prom.
Okay.
I just remember proms as being this minefield of who you were allowed to dance with and who you weren't. I went in some cases with women, in some cases without, or ladies or girls or whatever you want to terminology want to give. I've been went to 4 different proms, and I, sometimes if somebody asked me to dance, I'd dance with them, and I remember on more than one occasion, a young lady becoming upset with me because of with whom I decided to dance. Not because the dance was erotic or undulating or any of these things, just it's a problem that I would dance with that person whom I didn't know was a problem. And, I didn't know what all the politics was that went into this beforehand. Angie, you have comments on this?
And you didn't know you needed... Were you not dating women before that? Because it's a minefield, bro. They wouldn't be nearly as intoxicating if they didn't occasionally just explode for no apparent reason.
Women?
Oh yeah.
Well, those are the only things that Rich has dated.
Oh well, yeah.
So he doesn't know any better. Any thoughts on this, problems with whom you dance at prom and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I see it. It happened at prom, but, you dance with who you go with, and you don't veer from that. And if you do, then it's going to be a problem.
So you stick with who you go with.
Yeah, they paid for your meal, they paid for your corsage, and you be respectful. But now if they go dance with somebody else, you just say, oh, okay, well, then I have permission to do my thing.
That's what it would seem like to me.
So did your partner or the person you went with get mad at you?
Yes. Yeah, that was usually the issue. And sometimes it was a problem with whom I went with the prom and, those kind of things. It's always an issue, right? Because I tried to avoid this committed relationship thing as best I possibly could.
Okay.
And that means that somebody's always trying to tie you down with different systems, and some of those systems are being angry at you. Other systems are, I don't know, being alluring, whatever it might have been. But, for me, Rich, I just never wanted... I never wanted to deal with the drama, and thus I would put up with the drama very rarely. And when I did have to put up with it, I was sort of unarmed for it. Yeah. So anyway,
okay, I guess I can see how that would happen.
So if you think that this policy's misogynistic, as some of the students do here, this one guy's quoted there's an idea that men have the right to impose their will, good or bad, modest or immodest, on women. I'm not sure. It probably wasn't a man who made this modesty smock or modesty poncho thing. So I'm not sure I agree with that, but you're welcome to call in at 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. And I think that this is ill-advised. It's just it's a news story that was certainly poised to go mainstream here with this hideous this article of clothing where they're telling young ladies how they have to dress and that sort of thing. But this school hasn't backed off a whit.
See, I'm going to go way out on a limb and say the nudity taboo isn't healthy.
Okay.
It isn't healthy that we're ashamed of our bodies, or that, if somebody saw us naked, it would be a big deal.
Yeah, I think that nudity should be common, that you should not be upset if your child sees someone's boobs, or if you're at a beach and someone wants to, lay out nude. No big deal. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I agree. Do you think that people that choose to do it now have a bit of that exhibitionist flair? They want people to look.
And it's possible, because I know if I'm laying out nude, I want people to check it out. Okay. I'm like, hey, I'd like you to look. It's a compliment.
Mm-hmm. What do you get out of that? Just out of curiosity. I have no idea.
I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. I mean, I like to be looked at too, but nobody wants to see me naked. I can assure you.
Oh, well, I mean that's the first step.
It's the first step.
You got to want to be seen naked.
Right. Angie's a lot better looking naked. I would presume that I am.
Wow.
855-450-3733. My paunch, Rich. 855-450-FREE. I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves. That's what we do on Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
855-450-3733. Call in and talk about what you want. But Angie, during the top of the hour there, you were just kind of wondering to yourself what, in general, men thought about breast augmentation. Is that about right?
I'd like to know what the general consensus is.
So I pulled up...
Leave those boobies alone.
I've pulled up an article here, and first I would like to say this is basically from a plastic surgeon organization, so they're probably going to be a little more pro, but I think it's worth having some pro and some cons. I'll give you my opinion before it's all over here, but there's just some people it's ideal for. This procedure is ideal for those who seek the following benefits: a better proportioned or more appealing figure. If pregnancy or weight loss or aging has affected the size, shape, and firmness of your breasts. Perhaps to have symmetry restored. In some cases, it's probably created if in case one breast is smaller or larger than the other. I guess.
I thought that was just common in all breasts.
I think they all are in so much as there's some lack of symmetry.
Okay.
But balls are the same way. One always hangs lower.
I don't know if that's symmetry though. If you're in good health,
asymmetry. That's the opposite of symmetry.
I see. If you're in good health and have a positive attitude and realistic expectations, you're most likely to be a good candidate for this procedure. So first, I wouldn't want to shame anybody who decides to get a particular operation, whatever. If somebody, women presumably, want this badly enough, then they should get it. Is my first thought. Is anything that's going to make you feel better about yourself, then by God, you should do that. And that's cool as far as I'm concerned. I would say that if somebody was asking me my personal opinion on a breast augmentation, and specifically, I'm looking at you right now and you're in a tank top, I know I have some general idea what's going on. I'm going to say everything looks fine. You look great. I mean, And I hate to use the for your age caveat. It sucks. You look great for your age, but you really do look great for your age. And beyond that, you look better than a lot of women who are significantly younger. So I would say that to me, breast augmentation in your case would be a waste of money. But
gilding the lily.
It's not. Yeah, gilding the lily is perfect.
But what you don't see whenever you're not in clothes, is the thing that I would be looking at, or like a spouse or a partner would be looking at.
Sure.
And those are the parts that you're like, maybe that could use a little love.
Yep. You've had 3 kids, and life is as life is, right? So then that's a different operation. That's a lift, and they certainly have those too. But if you're lifting, why not add something? Yeah,
well, when you lose weight or you work out, the first thing that happens is you lose your boobs. And I have chest muscle, and that's why I look like I have cleavage. Really, there's none there.
So it's true that most of the breast is subcutaneous fat and not breast material, which is these are different things. And again, I would say if somebody feels like they should have it, then they should do it. No operation is without risk. And there is, you're going under the knife, and that means they're going to give you general anesthetic, and there's a risk to that. If that's worth it to you, then to have the the enhanced breasts, then I think you should do it. The thing I would say is that it is completely unfair if guys like me say, you're not going to get added attention. You will, right? I mean,
of course you will.
People are going to look more.
Yep.
Because bigger is more interesting, whether or not.
Well, they don't have to be obnoxious.
Then again, from the other side, boob-driven, I think, is probably less interesting most of the time. I mean, do you respond more when somebody's attracted to your boobs or when they're attracted to your brain?
Oh, well, the first thing that people notice about me isn't my brain. So, I mean, it just depends on if they actually talk to me.
Ladies have that problem, and I wish there was something for guys that didn't have the ladies weren't attracted to their brain. I'd get it right off. So let's talk about some of the downsides of breast augmentation. I think we can all figure out what the upsides are, right? So it's either medical, you've had cancer and you need some kind of reconstruction, you've got some kind of asymmetry going on, you need a little more symmetry, or you just don't like the way it makes you feel and look. And I don't want to diminish that third option at all. If it makes you look good in your mind and feel good in your mind, you should do it. I wear all kinds of outrageous clothes when I go to conventions and these sorts of things, and I don't do it because I do it for attention. Let's be 100% clear. I do it so that I get more attention. And in many cases, I justify that attention because, hey, I sell ad radios and, I'm on the radio and, do these sorts of things. And, okay, so attention's useful for me, but I just like the attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. First off, there are different types of breast augmentation. There are implants that are placed either in a pocket, either underneath the pectoral muscle located between the breast tissue and the chest wall. Placement of the implant underneath the pectoral muscle may interfere less with mammograms and breastfeeding. And then it's underneath the breast tissue and on top of the pectoral muscle. So it could go either way. And I would think that the pectoral muscle, I wouldn't imagine putting anything underneath the pectoral muscle. That seems like a bad idea, but I bet the porn stars are putting it just under the breast material one and not under the pectoral muscle. Just a guess. Then there are different types of implants. Saline-filled breast implants. This is just salt water. And silicone-filled breast implants. And these have had some issues from a health standpoint in the past, but the silicone's supposed to be more realistic than the saline ones. Okay,
as far as feeling or touch.
Yeah, and look, response, that kind of thing.
They're not.
No, once I feel them, you can tell the difference because
from that and a real breast,
there's a ball in there.
Yeah, I have never put my hands on an enhanced breast in my life, so I don't know.
You've never felt a boob?
I've felt boobs, but never ones that have been operated on that I know of.
Oh, okay.
I've been married for 15 years, pal.
Oh, see, yeah, that's true.
How old are you?
48.
Yeah,
48. See, and you've only been married 15 years, and you've never felt breast implants.
That's correct.
You didn't go to strip clubs or anything?
I have been to a few strip clubs, but I didn't think you were allowed to touch the gals.
Well, if you pay for the back room, then
I didn't think that anybody did that. I thought that was some kind of hustle. No, I haven't done that.
It is some kind of hustle, buddy.
That's one way to put it.
But that's the point.
So, do we have is there a call?
Oh, let's see.
Let's get people's opinion on this.
Yeah, we got. Let's go straight to the call. I know that Gene's audio is going to be good. And we'll just join the room here on Discord. So, Gene, can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
I do. What's on your mind?
I wanted to talk about the climate change, the climate cult liars.
But first, I want to get your opinion on breast implants.
Yeah. Are you for them or against them?
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, whatever the gal wants. There's a YouTuber in China who has had huge implants implanted. Her idol was Dolly Parton, and she walks around in a little short hot pants and a little top and everything because she gets attention.
Yeah.
And if she wants to do that, that's fine. I mean, I think she's a very good looking lady.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
As a man, which do you prefer in a woman? If you were looking at a woman, would you say, I want to be with her because she has them, or I don't want to be with her because she has them?
No, I like the tiny titties.
Well, there we go.
Okay, so back to the climate liars. And, I've been a skeptic of this climate change nonsense ever since the 70s when they were telling us it was global cooling coming.
And I haven't bought this hook, line, and sinker, Gene, if you hold the line for me. But I do tend to be a bit of a believer in the climate change thing. So
Horsaki.
I'm interested in what Gene has to say, and we'll be back here in just a second. The number is 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. It's Free Talk Live. The number is 855-450-3733. Call in, talk about what you want. Angie wants to know what you think about breast augmentation surgery. Are you for it? Are you against it? What are your thoughts? 855-450-3733. It's Mark.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
You can call in, talk about what's... Angie. All right. And I'll tell you about AnyPay. If you operate a retail business and you're looking for a solution for point-of-sale cryptocurrency acceptance, go to helpmetakebitcoin.com. This is basically it. You have to set up a wallet, and after you've set up the wallet, they even show you in the video how to do that, then they will walk you through every step of the way, and it takes quite literally minutes. Very easy. Helpmetakebitcoin.com. They have a map of different businesses that accept them. So once you're accepting cryptocurrency, you'll get put on their map for no extra charge. It's there's an iOS app that's available. Helpmetakebitcoin.com. They make it fast. They make it easy. And it's totally worth doing. Helpmetakebitcoin.com. Let's go back to Gene calling in on the Discord lines. Dean, you were talking about climate change and stuff.
Yeah, I'm talking about the climate cultists. I call them cultists because they act like cultists. They believe things just because it's written down somewhere. Now, what I saw yesterday was this big news story linked on Drudge that said, California is going through some fantastic heat wave that they haven't seen for 35 years, blah, 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 hotter than Las Vegas, trying to make this look like an apocalypse. Well, as a pilot,
the fact that it was that hot 35 years ago kind of shows that it wasn't an issue.
How would the loss of California be an apocalypse? That could be. I mean, anyway, don't threaten me with a good time.
So as a pilot, I have apps on my phone that I use for weather. And so I zoomed in on San Francisco to see exactly what my app is telling me that the weather is in San Francisco. And they were trying to say it was 100, 101, all this stuff. I showed 93 for the high. And then I went to another app and I pulled up the reporting station at San Francisco International Airport. It was reporting 77. Now, it was getting closer to the end of the evening, but it still was daytime. So it was reporting 77. And then they were saying, well, it's going to stay hot until Thursday. So I looked at the forecast that I have, my aviation weather forecast for San Francisco, and they were predicting 85 today, which I don't know what it was because I didn't go back and check.
It does sound warm, though.
And they were predicting 66 for tomorrow. Well, it's San Francisco, right? So this is just one example, and I find hundreds of them. I mean, I find examples all the time where the climate cultists don't just report the news, they actually lie about it. They extend whatever temperature they have, they're going to add 5 or 6 degrees to it to make it sound worse than it is. You got a warm day in San Francisco. We're going to add 7 degrees to it to make it sound even warmer.
Programmers call that torturing the data until they speak.
So, Gene, I understand that, and I think that the biggest danger to the environmental movement is the environmentalists. I think they're often full of crap, and their predictions are all full of holes, and every time they do this stuff, I get it. However, it seems like there is some data of some areas warming up. How about the Northwest Passage, which has been impassable for centuries? Now boats are going through there.
Well, let's look at this on a longer timeline, though. I mean, we just came out of an ice age, 200...
There's a mini ice age
20,000 years ago. Was that the most recent one?
Yeah, there was. Let's see, probably in the last 20,000 years.
Where we are right now was under a mile thick sheet of ice.
Well, so modern humans developed in the world that exists as it is today. I wouldn't want to go back too many thousands of years.
Not really. The mitochondrial Eve is 70,000 years back.
Sure.
And she may move up more as
I don't know what her IQ is.
Lineages die. She was smart enough to survive in conditions way worse than you've ever seen.
So can a muskrat.
But she didn't do it in a muskrat body.
No. I don't know.
And we should only be talking about
she wasn't getting any muskrat love. That's not how evolution works.
Go ahead, Gene.
But we should be only talking about weather for the last 500 years. I mean, really, if we want to talk about what supposedly is being caused by man, we really shouldn't go back farther than the Industrial
We
Revolution.
should talk about it to admit our ignorance, because, you can have a theory that says if you lock up a sample of gas in a hunk of ice for 1 million years, this is what you can learn about the composition. What you can't do is test your theory without waiting 1 million years for results. So I have no faith in anything they drill out of an ice core to tell me the average temperature of the world 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 years ago. That's just crazy talk from my point of view, unless you've been studying for millions of years and looking at what happens over time.
And neither do I trust those. But you can. There's something that I use to explain to people that the oceans aren't rising, and that is the city of Venice in Italy, and they have a flooding occurrence there. I think they call it Aqua Vita or something like that. They got a name for it in Italian. And what happens is every so often, Venice floods, and the water comes up through the square in the center of Venice there, and they actually have a history that goes back 500 years that shows you all these different floods they've had over 500 years. And they're not any worse this century than they were 500 years ago. In fact, some floods that they have recorded there are a lot worse 250 years ago. So the oceans are not rising. It's absurd to think that the oceans are rising because we have Venice to prove they're not.
There's a lot of technology used to keep oceans at bay in certain parts of the world, and because the canals of Venice are considered, cultural treasures and tourist destinations, it may well be that they've expended extraordinary effort on it. Although I agree with you on global warming, I have read of villages that have been found off the coast of England under 500 feet of water.
Yeah, these are.
So I would say that again, the sea has been rising for a long, long time.
Yeah, that's the dog land, I think was what it was called.
And again, since the last ice age.
Yeah, well, if the seas are rising, they're kind of missing Venice, because Venice, all of that.
Well, it's not happening in a very short time frame.
Yeah, what he's talking about is off the coast of England. This is villages from many thousands of years ago.
Yes,
and I'm talking about less than 500 years ago, and Venice hasn't really sunk at all.
Thanks for the call, Gene. Appreciate it. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Your thoughts on global warming, breast augmentation? We're here for you. Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event. Even with coupon code FTL50. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTL50 for a discount.
It's Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
855-450-3733. It's 855-450 free, as in freedom. I want to tell you about Cryptocurrency Wire. If you're trying to reach the crypto market and perhaps you want to spread mass awareness of your crypto technology, either way, you need a communications company that specializes in that particular field. Leveraging 35-plus different brands and part of the Investor Brand Network and more than 5,000 downstream distribution partners, Cryptocurrency Wire combines the power of specialization with mass market reach, and that's what you need. With their help, you can start connecting with crypto-friendly journalists and more than 1.6 million followers. Their commitment is to get the most eyes possible on your big news while it's fresh. Domestic? How about international? They can reach 56 different countries and also provide translation services. If your company is important and relevant as a newsmaker, well, that's great, but you still need someone that specializes in the field to get your message heard. CryptocurrencyWire.com. We've used them here on Free Talk Live, and we've had some success with it. I think it was great. CryptocurrencyWire.com. They helped us get our Ugandan story where we raised money for the orphanage, and it hit several news places. One of them was Bitcoin.com. One was Talkers Magazine, and I can't name all the rest of them to you, but it was nice to have that extra coverage, and they did that. CryptocurrencyWire.com. You have to push that a little harder, Rich. It's got to go click.
Oh, I hate that button.
Yeah. Let's go to David calling in from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Your Ugandan story, what's that? Kamala, the Ugandan headhunter running for president?
No, he was. This was the story about where we built the orphanage in Kagoma, Jinja, Uganda.
Are they headhunters?
Not that I know of.
You better check on that.
Okay, what's on your mind, David?
Well, what else? Boobies.
Yes,
perfect.
Survey, aren't we?
Angie's got a question for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you prefer natural or would you prefer not natural?
Well, both. My ex had my stripper baby mama ex that ran off with the other dude and took my kids with, and I haven't seen them for over a decade. She had implants, and they as she says when she's asked, are those real? She says, yeah, real nice.
Did you pay for the implants?
No, she paid for them out of her stripper money before she met me. If she probably wouldn't have got them if she hadn't already got them before she met me. I prefer if you're anywhere as close to being what you're happy with, then I think you're better off without them. I like the way they feel better without them. She had the water under the muscle.
Okay.
As opposed to you couldn't get saline when she got. Silicone when she got them. You had to get saline, and she put them under the muscle. And feel-wise, because it's your natural breast is still over the muscle, and so you feel that, and then there's the muscle wall, and then there's the implant that's under the muscle. So it's kind of an odd feeling. And then you have a line there too. You can see a little bit especially when you flex your pec muscles a little bit doing this or that. You can see the the line. But that doesn't really matter. They look great. But like I said, if you're anywhere as close to happy with what you got, I wouldn't get them based on how they feel. But if you're completely unhappy with how you look, then I would get them if you want them. And just keep in mind that about every 10 years you got to spend that. I suppose prices have come down now. I suppose you can get a tune-up for $4,000 or less. But every 10 years you got to go in basically and get a new set.
I've heard that same thing too, David. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. I have friends who have these augmentations, or their wives have these augmentations, and I hear that about every 10 years is about the time, and sometimes you're dealing with rupturing and all that stuff. You're not dealing with that with the natural ones.
Right.
But
this is all good feedback.
As they say, are those real? Or are they real nice? And I can't say that there's I certainly would not say that you're not going to get added attention, that people aren't going to pay attention, that they're not going to be interested. That's just how that is.
It would definitely help with the laying out nude thing.
Indeed, it would.
Yep.
I don't know when you get an opportunity to do that, but there you go.
There were people laying out nude at Forkfest last year.
They could have been. I didn't notice them.
Jessica was.
Okay, well, shows what I know. How do I miss all this stuff? All these things that go on around me in the world, and I miss it. Anyway, he was listing off some of the options.
Do you want me to point these things out to you
Please
when they happen?
Come and get Mark.
Yeah, come. Let me know.
Okay.
You don't have to come get me, but just when you see me, Mark.
I'll text you. I'm not going anywhere.
So there's we were talking about the different types of breast implants that there are, and I just wanted to go through the rest of this chart. David was mentioning the beneath the pectoralis muscle version, and I'm not an expert on this, but it goes beneath the muscle. Some of them go above it. There's the silicone filled type, and then there's the cohesive gel silicone. The gummy bear or form stable implants. Now, have you ever had like one of those wrist supports for a mouse where it kind of...
Yes. Yep.
And some of them are filled with like bean bags, and some of them are filled with like a squishy gel.
Yep.
But the gel doesn't change shape.
Nope.
It's always the same shape, and that's what that is. Okay. So it's like a boob, but it's the
like
shape.
Like a perma boob.
Yeah, perma boob. It's the shape that it is.
It's a mana boob.
And moob, well,
a mana boob, as in a boob from a mannequin.
Now, I think that the thing is that normally when you're standing, that's what it's going to look like that. But when you lay down,
it's going to look like
boobs look different when women lay down than when they are standing up.
They're supposed to,
or when they're hanging upside down, or when they're bent over.
Too.
What's that?
They need to relax too.
Right, well,
not with perma boob.
There's no relax in there, so it's just going to stay there, looking the same way as though you're standing when you're laying down. But I'll bet you the shape.
It's like pierced nipples.
Awesome.
If they're always hard, then
how do you know?
Yeah, well, it doesn't tell you anything.
It's not. Yeah. There's also the. Oh God, I shouldn't get new words here that I haven't practiced. Autologous fat transfer. The autologous fat transfer removes fat through liposuction from an area of your body in which you have abundant fat cells. Mine would be my abdomen. That's your thighs, your hips, your abdomen. After processing, that's preparation and refinement, the fat cells are injected into your breast. This method is less common than breast implant augmentation and not as developed. Your plastic surgeon might combine any of the above breast augmentation options with a breast lift. If there's any sagging or drooping of your breasts, your medical history, goals from the surgery, and body mass and size, breast tissue and preferences will determine the optimum method for you. So there's a lot of options in this if one were going to move forward with it. Angie, I'm not the one to give anyone advice on this one way or the other, but it's a mature industry, and you're probably pretty close to safe in the sense that you can have an operation and be safe.
Yeah.
Right? And remember, plenty of people die in safe operations every single year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
the other thing to be concerned about is loss of sensitivity.
Yes.
And that depends. I mean, some women
are oversensitive.
Can take the boobs or leave them,
Yep.
and other women, it's like it's all about the boobs.
Yep.
It's very personal things. So.
And some have oversensitivity, and a loss of sensitivity is preferable. So,
yeah, that can happen too.
And you never know how that's going to work out, but it's something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you roll the dice again and get a new pair of boobs.
So anyway, there's all kinds of advice on the internet. We went to medhalt.com to talk about breast augmentation here and what the benefits and downsides might be. You can check it out for yourself. Angie, you can give Angie advice here. Final segment, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE, as in Free Talk Live, or use our Discord lines at discord.freetalklive.com. Final segment of Free Talk Live. You can call in. We might be able to get you in. You can use the Discord lines. Tell you about those real quick. You go to discord.freetalklive.com, and there's an app there. That app is called Discord. And you can download it and then use the on-air call-in lines that are right there on the upper left of the screen. And call in and you'll sound great. It's so much better if you download that on your phone. On your computer, there's some ups and downs. You kind of have to tweak some audio a little bit to make it really work well for a computer. Oftentimes, those little laptop mics aren't the greatest, but it still sounds better than a telephone. Discord.freetalklive.com, or you can call in at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733 here on Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
And Angie.
You're going to run out of breath doing that at some point.
It could happen.
Story coming to you from the Concord Monitor. Immigration checkpoint on I-93 nets no arrests, but draws concern. So, for those of you who don't know, there aren't just immigration checkpoints within 100 miles of the southern border in the United States. There are immigration checkpoints all across the United States. We're up here in New Hampshire, and we are within 100 miles of the Canadian border. And presumably, anybody who's within 100 miles of the coast is also, there was a map at one point that the ACLU released that said that essentially within these zones, some large percentage of the American population lives, and that they're subject to whatever, random checkpoints. So I grew up in a country where English common law said that you had to be, they had to have reasonable articulable suspicion that you committed a crime in order to detain you. But things have changed in America, and you can determine for yourself why they've changed. But I've got a suggestion. The suggestion is we've become crazy about the idea of people crossing the southern border. So we have to do all kinds of things to stop that and justify that and all that kind of stuff. Now, in the 1960s, people were crossing back and forth. They were called migrant workers. They'd just come, they'd go. And steadily since then, they've cracked down to the point that you just can't even do this. You can get a visa to do it, and some people do, but it's much, much harder. People moved across the porous border in the South without any difficulty. And honestly, that's how it's been in countries for forever. Only since World War I have we gotten passports and this kind of thing. And border control is for a nation at war, not for a nation at peace. But
then again, we are a nation at war.
Oh, constantly.
A self-imposed war, the so-called war on drugs. And
that's an issue.
You know, it's the war on drugs that makes it attractive for criminals to come here.
Well, I would say that, for one, this traffic stop on I-93 in New Hampshire, up by Woodstock, New Hampshire, is just to justify the traffic stops on the southern border. There's really no point in having this. These things don't do anything to make us better or safer. Not too many drugs slipping across the Canadian border, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's weed coming in for
some.
I would be surprised if there weren't drugs coming over the
There's
Canadian
probably as much going the other direction, too. Just guess.
I'm sure it goes both ways. I mean, you can't stop the market.
An 8-hour immigration checkpoint Sunday at the Interstate 93 near Woodstock did not net any arrests, but led to a traffic slowdown, a long one, right at the start of the state's famed Bike Week. So we got to make sure that everybody's, whole progress is stopped because God knows what. U.S. Customs and Border Protection issued tickets to 29 people for failing to carry their immigration documents. So people who were presumably legal immigrants but didn't have their proper documentation. I guess you have to carry that with you at all times. You have to have your papers. And 29 people got ticketed for that. The federal border checkpoint also resulted in 6 separate seizures of marijuana and paraphernalia. And this is what it's really about, ladies and gentlemen. What is Customs and Border Patrol doing inside of the United States? Picking people up for marijuana and paraphernalia.
That is an interesting question, and I'll see your question and raise you one. A friend of mine got picked up in one of these border sweeps. I'm not going to say that much about him.
Yep.
But I will say that he was picked up and they had to dismiss the case because they had no probable cause. So now they're out there, having gotten smacked once, they're apparently doing it again.
Well, why not? I mean, most people aren't going to take it to trial. These people who got their the marijuana busts inside a state that just recently decriminalized marijuana and surrounded by states who have legal recreational marijuana. They, that's what this is about. This is the feds, trying to justify their existence, flexing their muscles. And this isn't about immigration, because how many illegal immigrants are driving up I-93 in New Hampshire near the Canadian border? It just doesn't make much sense, and it's a complete waste of time that they're stopping everybody. And if that's the truth, go ahead.
I mean, to me, the answer is just repeal the laws, not stop enforcing them, because the problem is if you have people in the country who have an illegal status, those people are going to be vulnerable to all kinds of dangers and they can't defend themselves because the government is literally out to get them.
It is quite literally out to get them.
But it's out to get
us all. Neil Gorsuch, the Supreme Court justice, just quoted as saying that the government can arrest you anytime, anyone for anything. Now, I would say more accurately they can arrest anyone for something, but I mean that's what his quote was. So I don't want to misquote the guy. But the government can get anyone, and by anyone I mean, ladies and gentlemen listening to my voice, you.
No matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, there exists a statute under which you can be booked.
Absolutely. Right now. That the evidence exists right now in your life for you to go to jail. How do I know? Well, I'm taking a guess because there's more laws in this country than you can read in 4 lifetimes. Yeah. So you can't tell me I'm wrong. Because there's just more laws. There's a book written out there called 3 Felonies a Day, suggesting that the average American is committing 3 felonies a day. You may be incredulous, but the idea that
those are rookie numbers. You got to get those numbers up.
Not me. I'm not interested. I'm trying to keep it as low felonies as possible. But this is, I mean, we live in what else would you call it but a police state if a Supreme Court justice, the guy who presumably is most knowledgeable about our country's laws, is saying that anyone could be arrested at any time for anything. Well, come on now, ladies and gentlemen. And you want to call other people illegal for violating the immigration laws? These aren't felonies, by the way. They're just misdemeanors, low-level violation misdemeanors.
I've never been harmed by an illegal alien. I have been harmed repeatedly, over and over again, by the government. So increasing government power to keep me away from illegal aliens, that gives me no comfort at all. But
well, if you have been harmed by an illegal alien, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but I don't think that status as an illegal alien really makes a difference. If somebody didn't commit a crime, somebody else is going to commit a crime. I mean, the crimes aren't exclusive to people who have come across the border.
Yeah, and generally, I mean, my preferred response is if somebody commits a crime, an actual aggression, you pull out a gun and you shoot them in the face, and then they won't do that anymore.
Well,
and also, people, say, well, maybe I shouldn't do that because somebody might shoot me in the face.
Well, I think that in fact firearms are a deterrent, and the fact that citizens may carry them is hopefully a deterrent to people who would commit crimes. I would be very judicious in who I might use that on, but if it's an aggression against my family, if we're talking about harm befalling my wife or my child or me or something like that, then yeah, I mean, you'd be talking about deadly force in that case.
Yeah, absolutely.
If somebody wants to steal my wallet or something, I probably wouldn't do that. But how are they going to steal my wallet? Presumably, they would put me in jeopardy, my life in jeopardy over some amount of money. And if a gun's pointed at me, I'm presuming it's my body that's in danger, not my wallet.
Yeah, see, I don't know. The last time somebody tried to rob me, it was actually one of those roommates, her boyfriend, blindsided me with a punch, and I didn't let him have the money. I fought. I threw him the hell out of there.
How many times have you been robbed?
How many times have I been successfully? Never.
Well,
perfect.
How many times has it been attempted?
Oh, God.
That many.
Half a dozen?
At least a dozen.
God. I've been to prison. It hasn't been that bad. Free Talk Live. Check us out at freetalklive.com.
Are you concerned that liberty, free market economics, and the values that made America great are no longer taught in schools? Well, so am I. So I got my son the Tuttle Twins children's book series.
My name is Jack, and I'm 11 years old, and I just started the Tuttle Twins. So far, I have learned that some people can use the government to ruin the economy and destroy people's businesses.
Give all the young people in your life a chance at reason and clear thought, because they're not going to get it at school. There are 9 books in the series, and each one teaches a set of ideas that children aren't getting elsewhere. Go to TuttleTwins.com and use coupon code FTL to get 40% off. Again, that's TuttleTwins.com.